So today's math, it's not that the math is any harder. Remember, the hardest thing about word problems is figuring out what are they asking. Once you realize what they want you to do and how to get the answer, the math of it's not hard. Not any harder than any other problem. So one of the questions we have today is, Jaden has 347 marbles. Elvis has 4 times as many as Jaden. Presley has 799 fewer than Elvis. How many marbles does Presley have? So there's a whole lot going on there. But we know we've got 3 people. We've got Jaden, we've got Elvis, and we've got Presley. So I'm going to write their names because we know that what we're doing is we're figuring out how many marbles each person has. And at the end, we want to know how many marbles does Presley have. So we're going to figure out how many marbles each of them has, and that's how we're going to find our answer. So if I read through it, it tells me Jaden has 347 marbles. Okay, it's going to give me that. Elvis has 4 times as many as Jaden. So if Jaden has 347, then to find how many Elvis has, if he has 4 times as many, that means we need to multiply 347 times 4. So when we do that, 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 plus 2 is 18. Now 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 1 is 13. So we have figured out that Elvis has 1,388 marbles. So we figured out Jaden, we figured out Elvis. Now we need to figure out Presley, and we know our question wants to know how many marbles does Presley have. So it tells us Presley has 799 fewer than Elvis. So fewer, are you going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide to find fewer? Well, adding is not going to give us fewer. Multiplying is not going to give us fewer. We know we're not dividing them into equal groups, so we're going to subtract. So we know we've got to take how many Elvis has, 1,388, and subtract 799 from it. So 1,388 minus 799. 8 minus 9, well, I can't do that. So I need to jump over and borrow. My 8 turns into a 7. This 8 turns into an 18. I can do 18 minus 9. 18 minus 9 is 9. Now, 7 minus 9. I can't do that, so I need to come over and borrow. My 3 turns into a 2. My 7 into a 17. So now I have 17 minus 9. I can't do that. That is 8. Now I have 2 minus 7. Well, I can't do 2 minus 7, so I need to come over and borrow. That's a 0. That's a 12. 12 minus 7 is 5. That 0 minus 0 is 0, so I don't need to put it. So we have just figured out that Presley has 589 marbles. Now with word problems, it is so super important to include your unit, because if I just say Presley has 589 what? Does she have 589 pizza rolls? Does she have 589 pieces of lint? 589 what? So when you write your answer, it would be Presley has 589 marbles. So it's super important to include your unit. So there was 1, and notice we had multiple steps. We had multiple operations. We multiplied to help find our answer, and we subtracted. Okay, so our next one, I'm not going to write it on the board, but I'm going to put it in front of you to see. It says, every day Sarah drives the same distance to work and back. If Sarah drove 1,005 miles in 5 days, how far did Sarah drive in 3 days? So we know if we were to make this whole trip, I don't know, this marker doesn't work. If we were to make the whole trip, so this was her week, and it's broken into 5 days, the whole thing together is 1,005 miles. We want to know how much is shaded. So what can we do? We know 1,005 miles in 5 days. Well, we can divide 1,005 divided by 5, and that's going to tell us how many miles she drove each day. So if I did 1,005 divided by 5, I know I need to come over and list my multiples. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. I know I also need my divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down, so I'm going to do standard algorithm. So I'm going to start. How many times can 5 go into 1? Well, it can't. It can't go into 1 at all. So now I'm going to look at 10. Remember, you can only do that if it's on the first one. How many times can 5 go into 10? Well, that's an exact match of multiples, and that's 1, 2 times. So I'm going to check off my divide. 2 times 5 is 10. Now I'm going to do 10 minus 10, which is 0, and I have a 0 to bring down. So now I want to know how many times can 5 go into 0? Well, it can't. It can go in 0 times. So I've divided. Now I multiply. 0 times 5 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. And I have a 5 to bring down. I'm ready to start over. How many times can 5 go into 5? Well, if I look at my multiples, it can go in 1 time. 1 times 5 is 5. 5 minus 5 is 0. I have nothing left to bring down, which tells me to look for a remainder. There isn't one. So 1,005 divided by 5 is 201. That means each of these 5 days, Sarah drove 201 miles. So now, how many miles did she drive in 3 days? There's 2 different ways you could solve this. So I could add 201 plus 201 plus 201. I know I'm only adding it 3 times, so that's not a bad repeated addition. Or I could do 201 times 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 2 is 6. So we have found out that Sarah, so we've got to put our unit, drove 603 miles in 3 days. The hardest part of these problems on this set is going to be the problem-solving aspect of figuring out what do they want from you.